everyone. Welcome to another episode of HR Heretics. I'm here with my friend Nolan. We're excited to jump into a topic that's actually pretty timely, and I thought it would be kind of cool to cover and kick around for a few minutes. And the topic, Nolan, is giving feedback to close colleagues, people that you really respect, like, and care about, and bringing up some hard messages with them. I don't know about you, but over my 25 years in doing this, that's some of the most anxious coaching that I've given people is their anxiety around giving feedback to people they like. It's so much easier for them to give feedback to people that they might not respect, right? They don't care, etc. And so we had a conference last week, responsive conference that you and I spoke at. And I shared some feedback with Nolan, and I thought we could dissect it and talk about just this phenomenon and why it's so difficult and some tips around how you can get better at it.
Yeah, let's do it, Kelly. This is going to be like our therapy session for
I love it.
everyone to listen to.
I love it. So Nolan and I were having a conversation with a friend after our panel, and I said, hey, dude, do you mind if I give you some feedback? I'd love your thoughts on this, or if I'm on Pluto. And my feedback to Nolan was that sometimes after I'm done talking, and yes, I can be more verbose than Nolan, we all know this, he sometimes will jump in and say, what Kelly meant was, or what I think you're saying. And I took it a certain way, and I wasn't sure how he meant that, but I said, hey, what is that? What is that? Like, what are you doing with that? Because sometimes I take it as you're clarifying or you're speaking for me. And I was very curious as to what he was doing there, and I brought it up. And I'll let you kind of cover that. But the friend that we were talking to, she stopped and literally, and I appreciated this, she pointed it out.
She was observing.
She was observing, and she was sitting in the middle of us, and she stopped us, and I loved it. And she said, "It's really cool how you both can do that. Sometimes that can be a high stakes, contentious, defensive thing, and it was like a non-event."
Yeah. Well, so let me give a little bit more context. So Kelly, it's exactly what you did, which is you go, hey, this has come up for me. I just, can I give you some feedback? And I was like, please. And, you stated the feedback as you just did. And then what I did is I was seeking to understand. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. When did I do it? And so you gave me a couple of specific examples. Our friend who was on the panel with us was like, that did happen there. And then I was like, oh yeah, which jogged my memory of specifically when I did it. And what I said was, you're right. What I'm trying to do is to give the audience something like very short and tangible that they can walk away with. Because I actually think you nailed the point. I just want them to be able to think about that point very succinctly afterwards. So then I was like, we traded a little bit more on it. And the other thing that you said, which I thought was an awesome tool, I've never seen anyone do this, is you go, it's like a 2 out of 10 for me. And that provided me additional context to like the severity, which I loved as like just a really small little tool that you included. And where we left it there was, hey, look, we're too close to the thing. And this one, we need to go get outside feedback and get people out like who listened to the pod or who were at the conference to get their take on it to see how it was received. And so, that's what we did. I actually talked to our producer. We had a scheduled call. It wasn't like I called her right away, but we actually did have a scheduled call that night. And I was like, hey, like Kelly gave me this feedback. She said it's 2 out of 10. Like, what's your take on it? I'm forgetting the term that she used, but she did mention like that is a specific tactic that podcasters use to make sure that the audience has a tangible takeaway, which is my intent. But first of all, like one, thank you for the feedback. Like I love feedback. And I know people say that and they kind of sound like full of shit when they say that, but like I earnestly do. And two, for me, it actually improved the depth of our relationship.
Yeah.
And it just makes it more real. Like I like when you tell me things that are actually on your mind, even though they may be uncomfortable for me, like, I just feel like I know where we're at and it's more of an authentic relationship.
Yeah, it was great. And I really appreciated how you inquired, right? Your first reaction wasn't a response. It was another question and multiple questions. And that opened me up too. Like, oh, he actually wants to hear about this. This isn't like, check, got it, thank you, let's move on. That added more depth to the conversation and then the relationship. And I just want to accent this point because, we were having a good time, we were laughing, and it would have been so easy just to not bring it up because, like I said, it wasn't that big of a deal to me at least. And it could have been fine not to bring it up and move on and live our life, and probably easier. But what that does, and I'd love your reaction to this, it clarifies your intent. So I don't go away creating false narratives in my head and stories.
Exactly.
And this is where I think stuff can go real sideways and molehills can turn into mountains when we don't take a small thing, severity level, 2 out of a 10, and talk about it and squash it. And then what if it happened today and I didn't say anything? And then the story gets bigger in my head. Oh, he's talking over me. He's doing that. That wasn't true. And the curiosity I had to understand your intention there, it just stops those narratives that can just snowball. And I've seen it over and over and over and over in work environments where relationships can get ruined over something that's not even real.
Yeah, it's so true, Kelly, that for whatever reason, humans are just awful at communicating constructive feedback. We just are. And we're bad at talking about it. And I think the reason why, because the deliverer doesn't want to hurt the other person's ego and the receiver doesn't want to have their ego hurt. I think that's all around ego. And, one of the books that I read that changed my life is Ego is the Enemy by Ryan Holiday, and highly encourage our audience to pick it up. It completely changed my life like 10, 15 years ago. And that's the reason why I want so much feedback, is because when you realize that your ego is just this made up thing and instead you focus on just getting better, the only way you can get better is if you know, like, where are your faults? Where are the things that you can improve upon?
Yeah. And it gives you such a great, like, well-rounded look at the person you're giving feedback, because let's just take you, right? We're honest. You're very decisive. You're confident. You're direct. You're outspoken. Like, one could discern he's not take feedback. He knows everything. He's this and that. Like, you were more curious than if I told 9 people what I told you, you were more curious than all 9 of them, right? You were more open and self-reflecting. And it's just, again, it shows you a different part of someone that you might have had a certain view of. You know what I mean? In addition to your ego, with people that you like and you care about, I don't know about you, but I think there is a very strong worry that the relationship will change. That, you have that moment that's potentially high stakes. It's giving feedback. If they don't react well, or you don't present it correctly, or a mix of the both, that what could be a good relationship or someone that you want to work closely with and you like, it just shifts. And I've seen that be the biggest reason that a lot of folks are reluctant to lean into hard messages with those types of relationships. Hey, everyone. We'll be right back in a moment after a word from our sponsors. Your workforce is both your organization's greatest strength and largest single cost. With Planful, it's easy to unlock the secrets of successful workforce planning so you and your HR team can make the right business decisions. Imagine using data-driven insights to develop accurate forecasts, close hiring gaps, and adjust talent acquisition plans collaboratively based on costs today and into the future. Planful lets you collaborate with colleagues in finance to understand the value your employees bring to the table. And the best part, you can get started with Planful in just weeks with minimal help from IT. Plus, with Planful, you get an endless runway. Planful grows with you, no matter how fast or large your team scales. Ready to transform your HR strategy? Join over 1,500 organizations worldwide who trust Planful as their go-to workforce planning software at planful.com/heretics. Real talk, most talent leaders haven't yet cracked how to leverage AI for meaningful impact on their hiring processes and business goals. But the leaders who are effectively using AI to transform their recruiting team's efficiency and quality use Metaview. Metaview is the AI assistant for the interview process. Their AI records and transcribes hiring conversations, like intakes, interviews, and debriefs, then provides perfectly summarized notes of everything that was discussed. That means your people can focus on creating human connections with candidates during calls and save time on the busy work of cleaning up notes after every interview. But it's so much more than just a time saver, because perfect notes means perfect data. For every candidate and every pipeline, hiring teams can make confident, informed decisions, and talent leaders can finally take control of the interview process. Join forward-thinking talent leaders at high-performing organizations like Brex, HelloFresh, and Fora, and check out Metaview. Head over to metaview.ai/heretics to talk to one of Metaview's product experts or get started for free. You'll be up, running, and AI-enabled in minutes.
So this is a case to where, you had the confidence to deliver it to me without you asked me for my permission to receive the feedback for sure. But what I actually think is more common is people have feedback on their colleagues and they're just not confident enough to share it. And so I'll give you a story about one of my things that happened to me at Carta. So I'm actually always asking for feedback specifically from direct reports. It's like one of the things that I do. We actually have every 6 weeks at my current company, we actually do feedback sessions. I think it's really important and has been a key thing to help me get better. So anyways, I was asking, I'll use his name's Adam Jackson. Adam was our he's our comp guy at Carta for a little while. And I was like, hey, Adam, I want feedback. And every 2 weeks I would ask him, I'm like, Adam, is there any feedback that you have for me? Is there anything that you see that I could be doing to be better? And he had nothing for 3-4 months. And then 4 months and he shows up in our one-on-one. He goes, hey, I have feedback for you. And he goes, everyone thinks you're a robot. Swear to God, it's exactly how he said it. And I swear to God, in that moment, I was like, okay, Adam is up and coming in his career. This was not packaged the best way. My ego is on the floor. Internally, I have the Kleenex box out and I'm like, oh my God, this is terrible. And
dude, you're a non-player character.
Dude, I swear to God, that's what happened. I swear. And so anyways, he tells me, he goes, look, everyone thinks you're super polished. You haven't built authentic relationships with people. And I was like, oh my God, dude, I think you're totally right. And so part of the reason you get the person that you're getting today on the pod and on LinkedIn is because Adam Jackson gave me that feedback earlier in my career and helped me grow as a person and helped me actually become more authentically me. And without that, I did have this veneer and this polish that I needed to figure out how to just dampen and bring out true Nolan. And so that's an example of in the moment, of course, we hate it, but I'm so grateful for it now. And I if we can play that long game and, think more in terms of the compounding interest, when you get that sort of feedback, God, it could be powerful for you and your growth as a person.
That's a great story. One other thing that I do a lot, and it's just natural, it's who I am, is I feel like we take it so seriously. I mean, and it is serious. It's feedback, right? It's stuff if you're doing well and stuff to make you better. But come on, it's also life. And we hold on to it like it's life or death, and leaning into some humor around it. And it's awkward. So what if it's awkward, right? And so I do it with a lot of folks too. Hey, this is going to be awkward, but the severity, again, this is a level 3 out of a 10. This is not a huge thing, but listen, when this happens or this happens, just lightening it a little bit without being flippant or not caring. I think it matters. I think folks get so worked up around it, it's everything and it's forever, and it's not.
I think the reason, so I mentioned ego as one thing. I think the other thing is job security. People are worried about constructive feedback, meaning it's some sort of demerit on their performance. And, the other thing too is people want to be perfect. The best people too, especially they have this perfection drive in them. And when they hear that they're not perfect, it can be very, very challenging. But that said, you're totally right. I think other tactics the audience can use other than your scoring out of 10, that's such a good tactic, everybody. People should 100% use that. The other one you should do is just to carve out feedback sessions as part of your regular one-on-one cadence if you have one-on-ones. If not, you need to have regular feedback sessions. And so, as I mentioned, we do it every 6 weeks. I think that's about the right time. Somewhere between like 6 and 9 weeks is perfect. Because this whole like real-time feedback thing, I am strongly in favor of. But again, you just have to understand humans are humans. And whenever they get that like weirdness feeling about constructive feedback, they tend to just hold on to it and not deliver.
Yeah. And the last thing I'll offer is don't use the word feedback. Like sometimes that word itself just sucks the air out of the room, right? Like I don't even think I said to you last week, can I give you some feedback? I was like,
oh, no,
hey,
you definitely said feedback.
I did? Oh, that's
yeah,
weird.
100%.
I usually will say something like, hey, can I run something by you? Or I just want to see if I'm, tracking, or I'm asking for feedback, especially from direct reports, because if it's a power relationship and you're like, do you have any feedback for me? It's like, no. I'll be like, hey, how have things been going lately? Anything specific I'm doing that's helping you more than others? Any bright spots? Anything that's bugging you or not working? It just loosens the conversation. It's like, oh, this is a conversation between humans. This is not a non-player character saying, do you have any feedback for me?
Yeah,
it could be a turnoff.
The last thing I'll mention too is treat others the way you want to be treated. And, the couple examples I'll use is like one, when somebody has like food in their teeth, I always tell them because I want somebody to tell me. Like, what could be worse than me, like somebody who I'm with for an hour is like seeing this thing in my teeth is letting me run with it. Like, that's awful.
Let's role play that. Pretend I have salad in my teeth. Go.
Kelly, you have something in your teeth and it's like right there. Like, I do it all. Ask my friends. I do it all. And then what happens is you'll get it and you'll be like, thank you. And I'll be like, hey, I'm only doing it because if it happens to me, you better tell me. Like, so one is treated in that way. The other one is, this is like a little bit different, but I always wave at my neighbors. Like when I drive by, I'm like the guy that's like waving and smiling. And even if they don't wave or smile back, like I don't care because like all I can do is control what I can control. But I love it when people do it to me. Like I love that sort of. So look, I think the best people want to get better. And the only way we can get better is if we hear things that cover our blind spots.
Cool. So thanks everyone.
Thanks for the feedback, Kelly.
Anytime.
HR Heretics is a podcast from Turpentine, the network behind Econ 102, Moment of Zen, and Turpentine VC. Subscribe, 5 stars, share it on Apple, YouTube, Spotify, anywhere you get your podcasts, all the things.